Well, hey everyone, welcome to this Nomadic Idea show where we discuss the uncensored truth about living full-time on the road, whether it's in an RV, schoolie, van life, doesn't make any difference. We are Scott Ariane from this Nomadic Idea. We come to you live every Sunday night at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and you can catch the audio version of this show on thisnomadicidea.com. This is episode 31, where we talk about nomad relationships. Are you a couple who travels together? How do you handle living together on the road? What happens when one of you decides, you know, this nomad life, this isn't for me? How do you as a couple handle conflict? Or do you both make decisions together as a team? We share a couple travel tips and share our own personal story on how we handle stress. All this and more on this Nomadic Idea.
This is not a drill.
Repeat, this is not a drill.
Shall we begin? Let's begin. Shall we begin?
For some, buying a new RV, rugged van, it's really super expensive. And on our last show, we talked about debt. We talked about why we partnered with Escape Campervans. We love those guys. You don't need to own a really super expensive, van to go live an adventure. Escape Campervans inspire people to escape their everyday routines and embrace their adventurous spirit by exploring the world in campervans. Rent one this year to come up to Yellowstone and explore the beauty of Wyoming and Montana. Come up to Cook City. Come say hi to Ariane and myself. We saw an Escape Campervan right across the street last week, so it was kind of cool. Went in there, said hi to those guys. It was kind of cool to see that. And so speaking of a couple, I can't really do a show about my partner without my partner being here. So I think it's time to bring on our guest host for episode 31, Traveling as a Couple. Not only is she beautiful, but I'm in love with her, my partner, Ariane Petrucci. Let's snap her in. Ariane Petrucci. Who would have thought the legend would be here with me today? It's good to see you.
I'm here. Hi, guys.
So, God, it's good to see you. I've only been doing the show now for a year by myself, so thank you for coming in.
Right.
Your name is on the title of the show, by the way.
I know, it's about time.
So, God, I'm glad you're here. I'm very glad you're here. It's not like I'm glad she's here because this is the first time I've seen her. We actually live together, but thank you for being on the show. So, we talked about this a little bit about what our experience has been like in a relationship traveling on the road.
Yeah. And
I think it's almost the same on whether it's it's a relationship, a partnership, a best friendship, whatever that is, it's still a relationship.
Yeah.
And when you're living full-time on the road in a small square space, ours is 180 square foot. In the van, it's even smaller. Of course, now it's a little bit bigger because we've graduated to a mobile home, which I don't think is any
for the time being.
It's not actually even safer, I don't think, at this point. But we're going to talk about, what some of the things that we've gone through and some of the things that we've experienced, and possibly helping somebody out there that's thinking about hitting the road in a relationship, and just some of the things that we've had to go through and talk about. And get through conflict, get through, decision making, things like that, and get through stress.
Which is always very different than before you hit the road or before you go into a small space, because the elements are differently compounded together, and there's a lot of other components that force you to remain in that little small space together, and those bring up some conflict without doubt.
And I would say that the very first thing that comes to my mind is that it's going to test your relationship. It's going to test it, but it's also going to strengthen it at the same time.
Yeah.
I mean, do you feel like we've actually grown together in a relationship? Do you think we've grown stronger in a relationship by traveling?
Absolutely. And I think
Thank God you said yes. That would have been super
devastating.
embarrassing. Not only on video, but on audio if you said hell no.
I think that it forces you to face resolution much more quickly, and it forces you to face having to accept dealing with it, even if you may not be ready to deal with it, because you and I, we deal with things on our own different time frame, but this, you can still always escape, you can always leave, you can always just kind of breathe for a minute. But we've been able to grow stronger because before we were doing two separate things. When we got on the road, we conjoined and we started doing things collectively together, decisions, choices, activities that we selected together. And I think that because of that, it really does heighten, a strength to be able to reconnect in a different way than you would have before.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, before we hit the road, we literally were living two separate lives.
Yeah.
Although we'd come home together and eat together, sleep together, but it was still like you had your own work day, I had my own work day, and I don't know how much of that has completely changed right now.
Right.
But the cool thing is that we get to experience things that the goal was to experience life and to experience freedom and to experience nature and to experience different cultures, different people, different places. And the cool thing is that we are still doing that. Like if we decide to take a few hours and drive into Yellowstone Park, it's only 4 miles away, and how many times have we done that? Just wanted to get away and say, let's drive through the park.
Right.
So I think in that aspect, that's one of the cool things about traveling on the road is that you have that freedom. You have that freedom to experience your goal every day. Or your dream, right?
Yeah.
Like I want to go travel the world. Okay, great. That's your dream. That's my dream, to travel the world. But I think in practicality is that when you're living in sticks and bricks or you're tied down, that's one thing to, say that. But I think when you're traveling on the road, you get to live that every day. I mean, it's like I'm gonna go drive here. Or I'm gonna go here. Or I'm gonna go experience the desert. Or I'm gonna go, experience whatever, and you can just go do it.
Right, because you're able to shift that much more easily without the ties attached to it. So it does allow you to be much more flexible in getting to explore your goals.
And I think you get to share life-changing moments with the person you love. And that's what it's all about if you're going to travel as a couple, with your partner. That's what it's all about. I mean, otherwise, why have a partner or why be in a relationship when, go drive.
You gotta have somebody snuggle with at night.
Yeah, right. You gotta have someone, Scott, don't, you're getting too close to the bison. You're getting too close to the bison.
Got somebody to balance you out.
Yeah. So, and I think it's important to, it's important on how you communicate, but I think it's even more important sometimes what you communicate. And I think what we've learned in traveling is that, you have to be honest, you have to be patient, and you have to be understanding.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to agree 100% of the time, but as long as you're honest, direct, and the understanding point is, and one of the things I think our relationship has grown a lot is with, we can see the other person's point of view much clearer and quicker
that's a good
than we did before.
Much more clarity in understanding it. It appears to be more repetitive of a conversation to have to keep rerounding, not on the same topic, but because you're shifting and you're flowing more both in space and scenario and weather, whatever it may be, they're the same general topic comes up to where you're constantly having to learn in that moment what's most important to the other,
Yeah.
and or to stay in line with your goal, right? And so these conversations keep repetitively coming up, different topics.
Well, and I think that's part of, so I one of the things that I'm very, very proud of us to be able to do is to say, I don't agree with that, or that hurt my feelings, or,
Not always so calmly as this.
why are you throwing the toaster in the bathtub while I'm taking a bath? It's like, I do understand you now. So, but we have been able to really, I think we've been able to say that much more, like, okay, I understand where you're coming from in our disagreement about any given topic.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's one of the things that when you travel as a couple, you have to understand that each person individually faces their own fear of something. And so if we both, I guess if we're both, heading off of a cliff in the van, we're going to face that fear together at the same time.
Which has happened nearly a few times.
Which that feels like it happens sometimes. But when
I think I may have been more scared.
Yeah. You're talking about the road down in Georgia, our first trip.
That one too.
Probably, but I think I had my own different fears. Ariane has her own different fears.
Yeah.
And I've got to understand her conflict, or I have to understand that, I can't discount that. And it's easy to do in a relationship. It's easy for one person to say, oh, yeah, I'll stop it. But
you're being irrational.
But the thing is that we both know from traveling on the road is that builds resentment for that person. And so you may be able to discount something one or two times, but you discount it all the time, that will come back to haunt you.
Yes.
When I'm trying to throw out the electric toaster in the bathtub. Do not plug that in! But I think, each individual person has their own separate issue, fear, whatever that is. And I think the best thing as a couple is that you've got to be able to understand that person's point of view and listen.
Yeah, you really are forced to kind of accept that quick, especially when you go from a stagnant life into something that is a lot more mobile and you're shifting a lot more. You really do have to learn how to deal with it pretty quick. And we were already really good at communication, so we thought, and then we got out on the road and realized a whole missing component to that perfect communication that we had already had, because it was very different. And and it's been very important for us to be even more vocal, at the appropriate times. Because we've approached things at very inappropriate times, and it's caused more strain and far more of a difficult scenario.
You pick your battles. Pick the hill you want to die on, guys. Because in a stressful situation, when I'm driving down a mountain pass, probably isn't good time to talk to me about what happened 3 days ago that you're holding on to. Not when you have a death grip on the steering wheel, and vice versa. You pick your times and pick your battles of when you want to have a discussion about a topic that is important to you. And maybe your partner is discounted or just isn't aware of. And a lot of times, for us, it's like we're just not aware of that issue. But make time to listen to it also. Yeah. And I think for people that are traveling on the road as, in a partnership, relationship, couple, I think it's really super important. This is the one thing that Ariane and I have done really super good at, and we respect each other for it, is that you got to have alone time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. More so than you probably ever realized that you needed.
I didn't realize how much until now. Wow, you're really passionate.
Very passionate
about that. Good night, everybody.
I think that when you adjust into a lifestyle where you're together all the time, not only just in a small space, but you're doing similar activities. You're involved in more stressful scenarios that are either new to you or just part of that lifestyle that, just repetitively keep coming up. I think you need to adjust to even more alone time to be able to kind of come back and be together. And it's not alone time as in like get away from me.
Yeah, that's not what we're talking about.
It's just space, like mental, physical space to be able and Scott and I have very different, similar, there are certain activities that I love to do or he loves to do, and neither of us are all that interested in it. And those are good opportunities for you to get that alone time in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the reasons why, like, when we have talked about so much on the show about, choosing your lifestyle or knowing your lifestyle first before you go buy an RV or a van or, schoolie. You really have to discuss your lifestyle, because in the end, that'll help you choose, your nomadic life.
Yeah.
And so for us, we've gone back and forth so many times about, the camper trailer versus the van.
Yeah.
And it all comes down to this, that we do really respect each other's alone time. Whether it's just like, hey, I'm gonna go grocery shopping, or I'm gonna go get water, or I'm gonna go get gas, whatever that is, for that 1/2 hour or an hour where, Ariane gets her alone time, I get my alone time. And we've discussed that as why the camper trailer in our Airstream is so important for our lifestyle. Now, if we were in a van, I could be like, hey, I'm gonna go grocery shopping. Ariane would be like, well, I guess I'm going too.
Or I'm gonna have to find an alternative activity to keep me busy.
Yeah,
or
right.
Sit and wait it out.
Right, which is, I mean, that might work a couple times, but, that, one of the other partners are going to, they need more alone time than the other person. So.
Or you just shop like Scott and be like on a whim, oh, yeah, I think I'm going to go grocery shopping like in AKA like 2 minutes. Okay.
Yeah, right.
It doesn't leave me a lot of time.
Right. But that's part of the lifestyle, that's just that's part of your lifestyle, I mean, there have been times where we've been in the Airstream and Ariane has suggested I go shopping.
Don't you need something from the grocery store?
Don't you need?
I think we do.
Scott, don't you need a project? Why don't you go find yourself a project? And so, but the thing is, that's okay. That all that stuff is fine. You can't hold resentment for that. That's what makes our relationship, I think, stronger.
Yeah.
That we can say, look, I love you. Get out.
But you gotta go.
You gotta go. Because I know death is right around the corner. And then the other thing too is that we have found that it has worked really well for us. And Ariane, she's so much better at it than I am. And when she says it, I totally agree. As you got to work as a team. This isn't an individual effort to live a nomadic lifestyle, even though that's your dream or her dream. If you're bringing your partner with you, it's got to be both. It's got to be a team effort. It can't be one-sided, or it's probably not going to work. Mm-hmm. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in the audio version of our podcast, about what do you do when you have conflict resolution and the other person says, I'm done. So you got to work as a team. It's got to be like every choice that we make, every decision that we make, although sometimes they're difficult, we have to do it as a partnership and a team.
Yeah.
One person doesn't make all the decisions, we both make them. And sometimes those decisions aren't made that day. Sometimes we mull it over, and it might take 3 or 4 days, or hell, it might take a week. But it's important that you both work as a team to live this nomadic life. It can't, do individual things, live an individual life, but when it comes to decision making, full-time on the road, you gotta work as a team.
Yeah.
And I think we've done that pretty well.
Yeah.
With
the exception to one recent thing,
which
we're going to talk about.
Was that it? And the biggest thing too is that it's really helped us a lot is to be grateful for the experiences you have, good or bad. Because what's the alternative? The alternative is that you're sitting in the cubicle, you're sitting in your chair, and you're living in sticks and bricks, and you're going like, "What am I doing?" So when you got to be grateful. Like right now, as we speak, right now as we're shooting this video, it is snowing profusely.
It's absolutely, it's gorgeous.
It looks like chicken feathers coming out. That's how big the snowflakes are coming down, and we're sick of the snow. We're tired of the snow. But it's so beautiful. And we're grateful. I mean, it's the it's the middle of May. And so, but it's things like that. It's like the little things that you have to find to be grateful for. It's easy to complain, and it's easy to whine, and it's easy to live the lie. Living the lie is much easier. But being grateful for the little tiny things about why we're out here, why we're living this life. And it's not an easy life sometimes. Things break. Things break down. You guys all know the issues that we had with the van. It's not easy, but, we're grateful because what's the alternative?
Well, I also think on the flip end of remaining grateful for things is it's part my personality to do this, but getting ready for the next and getting anxious for the next thing, or when you start to move so frequently, you can't remain so present in that one moment because you're always looking forward to the next big adventure, the next site, the next place that you get to explore. And we've learned how to slow our minds down and be grateful in that moment for that time and that space, because perhaps we'll never return to that place again. That may be our time to explore it. And so not only being grateful in that regard, but being grateful for what you're in the moment for in that given time. And it really does ground you in a different way.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's, no matter who you go travel with, you be kind, you be respectful, you try to be understanding, you work as a team to try to accomplish your goal. And if your goal is to live a free life and to have freedom in your life, then it's important to work as a team and understand your partner and listen to their concerns and how they feel about the life. So we go into much more of our personal stories. We're going to talk about the most stressful time we've had. We're going to talk about some epic disagreements we've had and how we've had to get through those. And we're going to talk about the biggest decisions we've had to make as nomads in the 2 years we've been out here. And it was a big one, and it has caused some issues. And so we're going to talk and be very honest on that with the rest of the audio podcast. So you guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much, Ariane, my beautiful co-host that was on the show today. We really appreciate it. You can check the rest of the podcast on thisnomadicidea.com, episode 31. In the meantime, please hit the thumbs up and hit the bell notification so you always get notified when we post something new. We'll see you next Sunday, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, where we share the uncensored truth about living life on the road. So I'm probably the epitome of patience, aren't I?